Well, good morning. So thank you all for coming. We are a capacity crowd today, so we appreciate that. Obviously, the video was the good, the bad, and the ugly. And you might say, well, where was the bad and where was the ugly? And, I guess if we're looking, as you might have heard, the varsity in Alpharetta closed. We'll certainly call that bad. We'll also say, and unfortunately there's no way to sugarcoat this, sometimes your trips home or your trips to work have a lot of other cars in front of you and behind you, and we'll certainly call that ugly. But Alpharetta as a whole, and I think y'all know this, is an incredibly blessed city. It's an amazing city. But I will say that my first experience with Alpharetta was neither blessed nor good. I've told some of you this story before, but my first time to Alpharetta, I was age 17, self-assured and a little tender in age, but I was 17 years old. It was for the prom. I was in one county. My date was in another county. It was not my wife. But as luck would have it, it brought me right through the city of Alpharetta, right down Highway 9. It was before Georgia 400 was open. And here's the thing. So as a 17-year-old, I was able to convince my dad, I still don't know how this happened, to borrow his midlife crisis vehicle. He had a red Porsche 928 S4, 0 to 60 in 5.6 seconds. It's what I call a slam back car, and I'm probably the only one to use that, but I think you know what I mean. If you've ever been in a car that had so much thrust that when you push the gas, you slam into the back of the seat, that's what this was. And so on Highway 9, right at the intersection of Main and DeVore, if you know where that intersection is, that's where I decided to do just that. So as my back slammed into the seat behind me, and I was feeling pretty excited about it, blue lights flared from behind, and I found myself, actually, Hans Appen, where are you? I found myself in a tuxedo that looked very much like that white dinner jacket that he wears at a lot of different events, talking to a police officer, explaining exactly what happened. So it was a bad day for me, my first experience in Alpharetta. The date was in the car, so it wasn't any longer cool. My second experience with Alpharetta wasn't too much better. 2 months later, I had to come back to the city of Alpharetta to the then City Hall / courthouse and pay my ticket and pay my fine. And we'll say that's ugly, and we'll also say we tore that building down. But when on both of those occasions, here's the thing. I was in Alpharetta on both occasions, but I was not yet a part of Alpharetta. Some of y'all know my day job, I'm a closing attorney, and I did a closing literally last week. And the couple was not an Alpharetta couple, they were a Milton couple. And if you've been through closings, I know most of you have, there's generally some conversation that goes along with that. And as I was talking to this couple, they had lived in the city of Milton for 3 years. And as I was talking to them, they didn't know much about where they live, much about anything about where they live. They weren't quite sure how to get to Roswell. The husband had never heard of Dunwoody. And basically what it turns out is that they get in their cars, they travel down 400, they both work inside the perimeter, but they go to their place of work, and then when they're done, they come right back. And I imagine, though we didn't talk about it, I imagine when they get back to their house that the garage is on its way down before the engine is shut off. And we all know people like that. In fact, some of us may be people like that. And we kind of have this collective sigh when we think about it. Because, when you thought about, what it would be like for the town that you lived in, and, what it would be like when you finally put down roots, and how that community would feel. And, you really had something else in mind. You had that connection piece. Well, I want to tell you a little bit about some people who are very much a part of the city of Alpharetta and have done a tremendous job for you as residents and people who work in the city of Alpharetta. And that's our staff. I'm going to start with our public safety department. We have Director George. I know you're around here somewhere. Whoop, that way. There you go. Hey, way over there. So Director George, and of course our liaison to public safety this year is Jim Gilvin. Wow, you've done a tremendous job. Our fire department was I'll start with the police department. The police department was rated the #1 police department in the state of Georgia by the FBI this year. So congratulations on that. Not to be outdone, our fire department, so there is such thing as an ISO rating, and there's 48,000 fire departments across the country that are measured in this way. And it's kind of hard to say because it's such a small percentage, but we finished in the top 105 in the country, which is 0.2%. So the top 0.2 of the top 1%, that's where Alpharetta is. And what that means is there's no safer place to have an emergency than in the city of Alpharetta. So Gary, thank you for what you do. We have our engineering and public works director, Pete Sasevich, and we also have our mayor pro tem, Chris Owens, which is the liaison. And I'll say both of these gentlemen have worked well as a team in terms of finding ways to prioritize and fund not only our road resurfacing to make sure our roads stay in high quality, but also with respect to our stormwater, which is an interesting topic when we talk about it. Not the most exciting of terms. I'm not a big fan, but we got to take care of it. So that's been going very well, but we're also taking measures to improve traffic, intersection improvements such as Broadwell and Rucker. We got a new road. I know Glenn Cannon is here from Gwinnett Tech, and he's very happy with that road. And so there's a new section. There you are. There's a new section. And then ultimately, when it's finished, it'll connect Old Milton Parkway and Kimball Bridge Road. So we're excited about that. We also have, of course, in our community development department, and we have, I don't see Mike Kennedy, he's the liaison to that department, and Kathy Cook is our department head. There she is. They're helping me out now. They're pointing. Obviously, there's a lot of things. People want to be in the city. There's a lot of businesses, a lot of developments that want to be in the city, and our staff does a tremendous job in that regard. But I want to point out one thing in particular that has really helped. And I know I saw Mark Toro and some representatives from Avalon. One of the dream situation things for us was to try to figure out, okay, we've got downtown and we've got Avalon, and they're half-mile apart. How do you connect them? How do you make it walkable? How do you make it bikeable? How do you make it easy to get from one to the other? And we had this idea, Thompson Street parallels Old Milton Parkway, and the staff did a fantastic job of helping us create a concept that ultimately we presented to the public. And now we've had developments that have been approved along Thompson Street that nearly fully complete this idea, not only the approval of, but the funding and construction of this linear park that will connect downtown and Avalon. And we expect to break ground on that corridor this year. So we're excited about that. So thank you for that. And yeah, absolutely. In that same department, we have our first Historic Preservation Committee, and I have to thank Councilman Donald Mitchell for heading that up. And I know y'all are at a table, but I haven't figured out which one. There you are, in the back there. So obviously, Alpharetta is 157 years old, and contrary to some beliefs, we actually do have historical buildings in the city of Alpharetta. We're excited about the work you're going to be doing and helping us protect those, so thank you for that. You're already working on being a part of Alpharetta. We appreciate that. We also have, of course, our Economic Development Department, Peter Tokar and Samir. Samir's the one, by the way, who put that video together. So thank you, Samir, for doing that. Yeah. Economic development is one of our big strong suits. And we are the technology city of the South, over 600 technology companies. You might have heard me say that. Nobody's heard me say that. Well, we have over 600 technology companies just in the city of Alpharetta alone. So I'll have to get that out. But here's the thing, with respect to economic development, we got some amazing things happening. I just mentioned Gwinnett Tech. They opened their doors officially at the beginning of January. However, we're going to cut the ribbon in March. The governor's going to be there, so we're excited about welcoming you officially into our organization, into our community. And we've talked about the importance of not just unemployment, but where we really see Gwinnett Tech fitting in and being a part of Alpharetta is really helping with our negative unemployment. Situations where we have jobs, but no one trained to do those jobs. And I know already I'm hearing stories about how people are doing just that, getting trained up to satisfy and help the employers that are already here. You may have also heard, and with respect to Avalon, we've been working for 3.5 years. You've heard me talk about it with respect to the conference center. So the conference center is finally approved. We expect to break ground again this year, so we're excited about that. So fantastic, good job. We also have another tool that we're excited about, and this is actually, as our Economic Development Department partners with our Alpharetta Technology Commission, we have an innovation center now. We took the old fire station house and we converted it into an area for startup technology companies. We have as many as 60 technology companies that are working either in that facility or using that facility to help their businesses to create those collaborative efforts. And we actually have Mark Hubbard, where are you? That way, that way. We actually have our first graduate as well who's already gone through that and has expanded and is now going to have to find permanent space, which means we can fill that with more technology companies. So that's fantastic. The one thing I also want to point out is our finance department. And our finance department is one of those departments that, okay, they do a great job, but is it exciting to talk about? Well, I want to specifically point out Tom, who's smiling sheepishly back there. Tom and your staff, you guys have been tremendous as we've done really two very, very large projects. We talked about the conference center. In order to get the situation where the city was safe and secure in the way those numbers were and to create a situation where we could fund it and do it in the right possible way, your team did an amazing job in working both with consultants and the staff and Stormont and with the North American Properties to create a really great project. So thank you for doing that. In addition to that, you may have heard, in fact, last night we passed for the second reading, which means it's going to be on the May ballot. We're going to have a $52 million bond on the ballot in May. And here's the thing, we've been talking about, and I credit, Mike Kennedy's not here, but I credit Mike Kennedy for kind of leading this charge on. We have a tremendous number, we're a big and growing city. We have a tremendous number of capital needs, both on the transportation side and the park side. And we've been trying to figure out, well, how do we do it? How do we fund it? And one of the ways, as we started to think about what those needs were and how we get certain things done, it looked as if we were going to have to raise the millage rate. He's like, okay, well, it's $50 per home if we do this, and it's not that big a deal, and it's really stuff that we need and we need to take care of. But with Tom's help and with Bob Regis's help, we were able to kind of put our heads together and find a way to actually fund $58 million worth of projects, $52 million bond, without raising the millage rate a single percentage of the mill. So, yeah. So thank you for that. And I'll quickly state, so the bond project, and if you're an Alpharetta resident, we need you to go and support this. If you want to be a part of Alpharetta, there may be an opportunity on a bond committee for you. But on the transportation side of it, we're going to be working and improving the Rucker Road corridor. We're going to be improving the Kimball Bridge Road corridor. We're going to be improving Windward Parkway. In addition to that, there's going to be funds. If you're familiar with the Greenway, if you're a fan of the Greenway, we're going to be taking that Greenway from where it currently stops at Windward and Marconi, taking it up to Forsyth County. The sidewalks, if you're a fan of sidewalks, we're going to, we for a long time have known that we have this plan to have sidewalks on all the public roads, absent the subdivisions, on all the public roads, but it's just been insurmountable in cost. So we have $6.5 million in that bond to really get us nearly all the way there and putting sidewalks on every public road in Alpharetta, so it's something that's needed to be done for a long time. We're working on creating a partnership where there's funds to do it. We've been partnering with the YMCA to see if we can have an East Side Community Center that would support our seniors. We have money in there to look and acquire land, while land is what it is today because it only goes up to acquire park space. Jason Binder has been a big proponent of that. We also have some funds in there if we're able to make it all work to acquire land for a performing arts center in our downtown, a place for theater, for concerts. So we're looking at how we best to do that. So there's a lot of good stuff in there, a lot of things in our capital plan to do. And not only that, we're putting plans in place because we know that we're going to have capital needs in every 5 to 6 year period. So our plan is to structure our budget in such a way that without raising the millage, we can go back and have more capital plans as we move forward through the years. So thank you, Tom, for helping us through that. We certainly rely on your expertise and your very conservative forecasting. So all these things are great things, and they've led to some amazing accolades. You probably saw some of them on the videos, and there's some great things in there. We're listed as the 7th best city. I can't shoot. There's a lot of them. Let's see. We're the first best city in Georgia to start a business, and that was by NerdWallet. We were named the best suburb out of 56 cities by Movoto, which was fantastic. We were named, this is interesting for those of you women entrepreneurs there, we were named the #1 city for women entrepreneurs, and we actually have a full third of our businesses are women owned. So there's no, yeah. Highest percentage in the country, so we're very excited about that. And then we are named the #1 city in the country to start a business. So it's amazing the kind of accolades that we're getting, and there's a lot of good work that goes in to do that. But you may be asking yourself, well, that's all fine and well. That you just told us, what the departments are doing, what the people who work for the city, that the people who are paid to do are a part of Alpharetta. But that is, again, what they are paid to do. How does that relate to me in terms of being a part of Alpharetta? And we've got some great stories to tell. And most of y'all are familiar. Anyone familiar with South Main Kitchen? Yeah, very good food. Fantastic. Well, Louis Soon is the owner of that restaurant, or one of the owners of that restaurant, and that's his first venture. So he decided to start his first business in Alpharetta. He took a chance on us. We're thrilled that he's there. And he's been successful. He's put a tremendous number of hours, and he's created a good opportunity for himself. Now he has an opportunity to start his second business. But instead of simply starting another South Main Kitchen in another city nearby and trying to leverage on that brand, he's going to build another restaurant right next to the current one called Butcher and Brew, and to continue to invest in Alpharetta. And by investing in that downtown, being a part of Alpharetta. I know we have Karen Cashin. I know I brag on her a lot. Karen Cashin is over here. She is the head of the Greater Alpharetta Technology Network. And she has a passion for putting technology companies together and creating community among those technology companies. And so she has put together this Greater Alpharetta Technology Network, which is not just Alpharetta, but it's Johns Creek, it's Milton, it's South Forsyth, it's Roswell. And it's having a tremendous impact in trying to creating those connections among our technology companies. So thank you for doing that. And I also want to brag on, I don't know if Morris Cowan is here. Morris, are you here? I don't know, but Morris Cowan, he's a resident of Windward. And he drives by on Windward Parkway, like I'm sure many of you do. And right before Christmas, he noticed a lady there who was homeless. And the easy thing to do is to continue on to your home and say, that's a shame, and darn. And that's what most people do. He didn't do that. So he pulls over, he actually sits down, he talks with this lady. She doesn't want any help. He arranges to get her to a hotel room, but she's not going to get in any car. So he walks with her. I believe she's in a wheelchair, walks with her all the way over to the hotel, gets her a room, and problem solved, right? Well, eventually, the room, it ran out. So she's back on the street and it's still cold. Well, he actually goes in and does a mini sit-in of sorts and gets her and convinces her to connect with some resources in Atlanta. They have counseling, they have an apartment for her, and they're getting her some help. So an amazing job of just being a part of Alpharetta. We have another great story. We have one of our officers, and this email literally just came, I don't know, it was yesterday or the day before, and we have one of our officers who was just making a normal call. That he was called to check on a suspicious person. It turned out to be nothing. However, when he got to the house, there were two elderly ladies there, and those two elderly ladies, the heat didn't work. And so he asked them, well, what's the deal with the heat? It's not working. He said, well, do you have any kind of space heater? Because it's one of those nights that we've had where it's just bone-chilling cold. And so after they didn't have a space heater and after the heat didn't work, he could have gone on about his job. He could have done something else. Instead, he went home. He went home to go get a space heater and bring it back to those ladies, set them up with a space heater so they could have some heat, some warmth. And so he was taking charge and being a part, yet again, of Alpharetta. Now, these stories, and there's more of them, of just ordinary people just doing extraordinary things and being a part of the city and not merely in the city. And so the question is, what do these stories have in common? What do they have in common? Well, the thing they have in common is that they're all sharing. One is sharing their leadership. One is sharing their services. One is sharing their compassion. And if you want to be a part of something, that's the deal. You've got to share something. To be a part of something, you have to share something. And so with the city of Alpharetta, where do we start? Well, it starts with a place. And I believe that place is downtown. Now, I know you've heard me talk about downtown. It's the whole reason I ever ran for city council. It's the main reason I ran for mayor. I firmly believe in what it is because I do believe that community, that being a part of the city, it starts with a place. And now the temptation is that, look, Alpharetta's downtown has come so far in 4 years. We don't need to do anything else with downtown. Let's go and do something else. And I would say we're not finished. I've been fascinated lately with Winston Churchill. It's a fascinating gentleman. When he finished his being a prime minister for the second time, His protege and successor was a guy named Anthony Eden. And not too long into his being prime minister, he decided to send a bunch of British troops to secure in Egypt basically a naval passage so that they could get things to and from Great Britain. Well, he sent the troops in, and as he sent the troops in, he got a lot of international pressure. And ultimately, because of that pressure, he pulled them right back, and it was a terrible political disaster for Great Britain. And so they asked Winston, being retired, to say, hey, what do you think of your boy Anthony Eden? Would you have done that? And he says, I'm not sure I would have dared, but if I dared, I would not have stopped. And that's where we are with downtown, is that, look, we dared, we began, we've started something amazing and incredible, but if we're going to create a place that connects, a place that is a place that introduces and invites people to be a part of Alpharetta, not merely in Alpharetta, we've got to finish what we started in downtown. And there's some amazing things coming in downtown Alpharetta. We'll be breaking ground on the private side of City Center. Sherry Morris is here, and we're excited about what you guys are going to be bringing. We're going to be, obviously, I told you about that connection, that linear park that's going to connect downtown and Avalon. A family can, hopefully, when we get the bike share program up and running, you'll be able to get on bikes either at Avalon or downtown and take that connection or walk that connection. We have a lot of people are reimagining and reinventing some of the older parts of our downtown, and you're seeing that coming. More residences are coming, more shops are coming, and it's really starting to become something amazing. I still hope, and when I close my eyes and think, well, what are the pieces that I would love to see? The first and foremost piece that I would love to see is a performing arts center in our downtown. We're working with, and the pieces are starting to fall together, but I'll be honest with you, I can't promise you anything on it. There's a lot of variables on it, but we're finding people who are willing to be the promoter for that site to make it cash flow. We've found donors who are willing to donate their money and help raise money. We're working with, if the bond goes through, we'll have money to acquire the land. So there's a lot of pieces on that, but it adds that cultural element because we have so many things going. We've got the restaurant side, we've got the shop side, we've got the business side, we've got the events thing. So many things are going, but that cultural element is so critical. We also, in that same vein, are exploring and working towards a sculpture program in the downtown, centered and focused with a theme of music that we think will help bring and make it unique. I would love to see a boutique hotel in downtown Alpharetta, a 50-room kind of deal. If y'all are familiar with the old Edwards Inn in Highlands, that kind of feel where someone would actually come, not because they have a business, but because they just want to experience and be a part of a city like Alpharetta. I'd love to see a boutique-type grocery store, whether it's a Trader Joe's or a Fresh Market or some kind of thing within that walkable nexus of City Hall. And so these pieces, and as you start to think about it, you don't really have to imagine too much. I mean, if now, 4 years ago, if I had told you different things, could you imagine a couple walking dogs, along Canton Street? It might be hard. If you could imagine someone pushing a baby stroller, it might be difficult. If you could imagine someone sitting outside on one of, I don't even know how many patios that we have now. Remember, I don't know, for those of you who have been around a while, I used to always use the phrase critical mass, that we needed to have enough restaurants to get to critical mass. We've got critical mass. But there's so much left to do, and we have such a great picture, and it's starting all to fall in and come together, and I'm so excited. And that's what it means. So when you become part of Alpharetta, the first thing we got to do is have a place to invite people to become a part of Alpharetta. So the question is, what does that look like, though, for you to be a part of Alpharetta as opposed to being in Alpharetta? Who is it that you need to go introduce yourself to? Maybe it's a neighbor. What is it? What group do you need to go and try to serve? Who do you need to go and lead? What is it that you need to do to be not just in this city, but of this city, to be part of Alpharetta? I believe firmly that if we do that, if we figure out how to be a city and not just be in a city, we'll find ways to lead together, to celebrate together, to serve together. And when we need it, when the time comes and it's important and it's critical, we'll find a way to stand together through the good, through the bad, and through the ugly. Thank you. God bless you. God bless Alpharetta.